Okay, welcome once again. We will continue on aggravating circumstances as provided for under Article 14 of the Revised Penal Code. Now, paragraph 1 of the aggravating circumstances is that advantage be taken by the offender of his public position. So, this is generic. Ning kuha siya advantage sa iyang public position in committing the crime. So, if bribery or malversation or what other crimes committed by public officials, then ang kining pag-commit sa bribery or malversation or corruption gigamit niya iyang public position, then these aggravating circumstances may be appreciated. Now, you also may notice that some of the crime committed by public official has an inherent element of using the public position. So you have to know whether or not the taking of advantage of public position is used to commit the crime, or if the public position is inherent in crime itself. So, you will encounter in Book 2 crimes that committed by public officers in exercise of his official function, etc., etc. Then, if these crimes, this using or taking advantage of public position is inherent, then the aggravating circumstance of taking advantage may be considered as inherent to the crime. Otherwise, it will be separate aggravating circumstance. Now, paragraph 2, moving on, that the crime be committed in contempt or with insult to the public authority. So, na public authorities in the presence, the crime committed is in the presence of, or in contempt or with insult to public authorities. So, this is understandable. The crime is blatantly, openly committed, maybe in the presence of a public officer or public authority, and it is by way of contempt or insult to that public authorities. Now, what if the crime is committed to the person in authority itself? The crime may be resistance or serious disobedience to the person in authority, and the aggravating circumstance of insult or contempt is absorbed because the crime defines that the resistance or disobedience may carry with it the insult or contempt to the public authorities. Now, the elements of the under paragraph 2 of the Article 14 is that the person in authority is not the victim. Siguro, or maybe or the law intends that the crime is committed maybe in his presence and without regard to his authority, and that is why it is aggravating circumstances that even though there is a public authority in his presence, the crime is still committed. So that's second aggravating circumstance. The third is insult or disregard with respect due to offended party on account of his rank, age. So, mga insulto ni sa iyang rangko, sa iyang edad, sa kung babae siya o lalaki, or that the crime is committed in the dwelling of the offended party. If the rape is committed in the dwelling of the victim, then that is aggravating. If the robbery is committed in the dwelling of the victim, then that's a aggravating. Otherwise, the definition of robbery in inhabited place will apply. If murder is committed in the dwelling of the victim or offended party, then that is aggravating. So the provisions of paragraph 3 provides insult or in disregard of the respect due to the offended party sa iyang rangko, sa iyang edad. So kung say for example 80 anyos na imo ang gikulatag maayo or gikulatag maayo sa offender, not you, gikulatag maayo sa akusado, then that is disregard of age, or you should respect the your elder. You should respect all persons. That's the essence of the paragraph 3. You may read all of the circumstances so that you may have an overview or at least idea. Now, moving on. Abuse of confidence. The act is committed with abuse of confidence or obvious ungratefulness. So, obvious ungratefulness na kay gibuhi or working student. Then a working student was the person who allowed that working student to be employed in his household, nangawat. So mo nay perfect example of obvious ungratefulness na kay gitabangan ya pagtabang nimo gitulis pa ka. So obvious ungratefulness or abuse of confidence, ikaw kisaligan ka and then gikawat no nimo ang usa ka butang. Abuse of confidence na inisalik nimo. But in case of abuse of confidence, if the act will fall on qualified theft or estafa, then abuse of confidence is part of its element. So you may or may not apply abuse of confidence in cases of qualified theft or estafa. Now, do you know that if you commit crime in the presence of the chief executive, in the presence of the president of the Philippines, na kay buhatong krimen sa presensya sa Pilipinas, then that is aggravating circumstance aside from the act itself. So, kung naana sila yung mga trabaho, naana sila exercise na silang function, you should not disturb them because they are serving the public in general. So, if you commit a crime in his presence or during his official function, this act is contemptuous and that's aggravating circumstance. Kana mo commit og crime ang akusado in the presence of the president of the Philippines. Moving on, that the crime committed in nighttime or in uninhabited place, walay tao, or by a ban, whenever such circumstances may facilitate the commission of the offense. Kanang nighttime, whenever the circumstances may facilitate the commission of the offense, kanang makatabang. So, in case of robbery or theft committed in nighttime, if the act of theft or robbery, or if nighttime facilitated the commission of theft or robbery, then that's aggravating circumstance. Or by a band composed of 4 persons, or uninhabited place, walay kapuyo. So that's aggravating. So, but the definition of a ban as provided for under this law is that more than three armed malefactors acted together in commission of the offense shall be deemed to be committed by a ban more than three armed. So four or more armed malefactors. It does not necessarily mean firearm. Armed malefactors may arm themselves with bolo, knives, or any other weapons that could physically hurt someone. Moving on to 7, paragraph 7, that the crime committed on occasion of conflagration, shipwreck, earthquake, epidemic, or other calamity or misfortune. So, na ay mga dilubyo nga nahitabo, bagyo, linog, or any other calamity or misfortune niya ning commit gyapon kag crime that is aggravating. Mutaas yung penalty ana. Or mutaas ang penalty sa akusado, not you. That the crime committed with an aid of armed men or persons who ensure or afford impunity. So, paragraph 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. These are also qualifying circumstances of murder. So if these circumstances present in commission of a homicide or killing of a person, then the crime committed will be murder. So simple killing or just killing of a person attended by any of the circumstances will qualify the crime or the act as murder. So first, 8 is committed by aid of armed men. So Almado, or yes, Almado, or person who ensure or afford impunity nga kanang dili sa masakpan, like the assailant or the assassin used a sniper rifle 500 feet away, not feet, 500 meters away. That's long distance enough. So it afford impunity ng maglisod ka kadakpan o lisod ka dakpon. Armed men, use of firearm is, yes, of course, aggravating circumstance. That the accused is a recidivist. What is a recidivist? A recidivist is one who at a time of his trial for one crime shall have been previously convicted by final judgment of another crime embraced in the same title. So, kanang recidivist, pag time sa iyang trial sa kanang kaso niya presently, na siya kaso daan nga convicto siya. Same kaso gyapon nga or papareha under the same title. So if ang kaso niya sa una is theft, then na kasuhan na po siya o qualified theft, then he may be considered as recidivist. Or kaso niya sa una is homicide, and then kasuhan na po siya o serious physical injury, then the same title gyapon, crimes against person, then he may be considered as recidivist. That the offender has been previously punished for the offense to which the law attaches an equal or greater penalty, or two or more crimes to which attaches a lighter penalty. So naana siya prior service of sentence na nakaservisyo na siya sa sentence sa una, nang commit na pod, so mao na siya gitawag og habitual delinquent. Habitual. So that does not necessarily mean nga pareha gyapon sa recidivist, basta na convicto na siya sa una and then balik na po siya commit. That's habitual delinquents. We'll move on again.